So I figure everybody's going to want to talk about Caleb Williams, his temper tantrum after missing the Nets, perhaps what we saw at the Family Fest. But no, we're here to answer some fantasy football questions. So let's go to the aisle, fantasy aisle, Sammy.
Welcome to our Fantasy Island.
All right, welcome to our Fantasy Island. Monday nights, we are answering your questions here on Twitter and, of course, on the show live. Thanks to all of you that have already joined us by lobbing in some questions. We will get to those almost immediately. As I sit here, I got to tweet this out. I got to make sure everybody knows that we're going. This has been something we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. I know a lot of people have been asking me, and I will just address this right off the top. The Colston Loveland things. What we love to see out of Colston Loveland is his ability to catch the football. I've said this time and time again, just to get it out there. I will have Colston Loveland on my roster. I have no doubt about that. I probably will not draft him as my number one tight end because I don't want to take the risk with so many mouths to feed in this offense. And there's a lot of other good options that you can be going for. Evan Ingram is a guy that I'm really targeting in drafts, partly because I like Bo Nix at quarterback, but also because I think he's a really good player and it's going to do great things in the Broncos offense. When you think about Sean Payton and his history with tight ends, I think it's a pretty good option for you in fantasy. All right, Sammy, we've done a great job. They've done a great job of pulling out your Twitter questions. Let's start going through those. Let's waste no time. Is it finally time to believe in Kyle Pittz, Captain CB? Listen, I just saw this. The Atlanta Falcons just moments ago tweeted out a video of Kyle Pittz catching a pass, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it again. Now, there is something to be said about Kyle Pittz. If you want to get him at a discount, something like, hey, I would have paid full price at Nordstrom for Kyle Pittz, but now he's at Ross, deeply discounted. This is one of the things. I was talking about Colston Loveland. I am targeting Colston Loveland as my tight end too. I play in a lot of leagues with people who are Bears fans, who watch my shows, know that I will want Colston Loveland, and there is a huge chance that I will lose out on Colston Loveland. If I do, I would take Kyle Pittz as my tight end too. I'm not taking him as my tight end one. Happy to leave him on the bench. I have him in a dynasty league. That was like one of the worst picks of all. Super flex, and I took Colston. I took Kyle Pittz. Unbelievable. I thought I was getting the next Travis Kelce. So it doesn't always, listen, I sit here and I'll crow about stuff like, hey, I got this right. I got that. I've been so wrong about Kyle Pittz over the years that it's so frustrating. All right. What happened? Another question there, Sammy. Is Christian McCaffrey still worth a first round pick? Loki Del Riviero. Yeah, yes and no. Here's the thing with Christian McCaffrey. When it comes to my draft style and what I'm going to be able to, or what I'm aiming to do this season is I'm looking at Bijan Robinson, and then I might not be drafting a running back in the first round, depending on how things break out. There's a lot of wide receivers who I would prefer to draft over Christian McCaffrey, over one of the running backs this season. However, if I'm sitting there at the end of the first round and Christian McCaffrey is available, I'm not shying away from him. Because of what happened last year. I think this is a problem that too many people run into where they're like, well, he got hurt last year, so I'm not taking him this year. Like last year is last year. This year is this year. Christian McCaffrey is still a dynamic running back in a high-powered offense with a great offensive head coach, a pretty good quarterback. He will be a top pass catcher. He's going to be extremely valuable in PPR leagues. Even in half-point PPR leagues, he's going to retain some value. Would I personally draft him in the first round? I would not. However, if he's available in the second round, and let's say I had Malik Neighbors, let's say I drafted Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round, if somebody snakes somebody like Drake London in front of me, I might end up going with Christian McCaffrey. But for me, I don't draft him in the first round. I think the value is there. If you want a running back, he is still a top 10 running back for me. So he is still intrinsically a first-round talent. The way I'm drafting and constructing my teams, I'm probably not going to be drafting a running back in the first round, which would take Christian McCaffrey away from me. But I do believe that he is going to bounce back this season. All right. How about another question there? Smiling Demi, curious to hear your thoughts on this one. Who are your top 5 rookies to draft in fantasy this season? That is a really good question. I feel like obviously number 1 is going to be Ashton Genty. He is going to be the first rookie off the board. There is an opportunity for him to be one of the first running backs off the board. I think that outside of Bijan Robinson, there might be people. Let me pull up my list. Should have had this ready to go. I could have just gone out and done this. So Ashton Genty, of course, is number 1. There's going to be a chance you could have, whether you want to go with Amarian Hampton or whether you want to go with Tet McMillan. Those are your 2 options right there with the second guy off the board. But I think it's one of those 2 guys flipped in either direction. I actually do like Travion Henderson more than I like Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter to me is going to be a lot more splash plays, a lot more packages. Now the Jags have designated him as a defensive back and as a wide receiver, but I don't know that he's going to get enough opportunities as a pass catcher this season for redraft leagues. Dynasty, there might be some more value. But if we're looking at Dynasty, I mean, while Colston Loveland is not a guy that I anticipate having a huge rookie season, or at least not a consistent rookie season to the point where you can trust him as a tight end 1 moving forward, I do really believe that he should be the 5th player off the board. Like I would take Colston Loveland over Travis Hunter in Dynasty leagues. That's just me. I favor the tight ends. I think Travis Hunter is going to be really good. But I don't know. I'm curious as to how much Travis Hunter is going to play both offensively and defensively. And a lot of the scouts and a lot of the people that I've talked to so far say that Travis Hunter's biggest impact is going to be on the defensive side of the football and is going to be somebody who makes some celebratory plays on offense. Is there going to be enough consistent touches? To me, I don't think so. And I don't know if that'll ever change. So I'm going Colston Loveland for Dynasty. Redraft, Travion Henderson, and of course, Tyler Warren, I think would be a much better in a redraft rookie year. I see Tyler Warren ending up having a great Dynasty or a great redraft league and perhaps at one point, a good Dynasty player, but I like Colston Loveland more in Dynasty. Speaking of fantasy, listen, you can win your fantasy league or you can own it. Too many fantasy football champs walk away with a plastic trophy or a sad little title belt, a group chat, GG, and that's it. That ain't it. This is Crown Champs, baby. Custom championship crowns, rings, scepters, robes. You don't just win your league. You go out there and you rule it and let everybody know that you are the champ by being a crowned champ. And sure, your buddy's hosting a draft at Applebee's again. But meanwhile, Crown Champs is throwing draft parties on party buses, rooftops, even freaking yachts. Yeah, fantasy football just got royal. Sound up here at Sound Up for Crown Champs. Sorry. Sign up. Here's the thing. Sign up with Crown Champs. Go to crownchamps.com. And for just $2.99 a month, you can be a champion. That's less than your league mates are spending crying into their chicken tenders. Don't play like a peasant. Get crowned like a champ. Hit up crownchamps.com. That's right, crownchamps.com. And you can tell them Adam Rank sent you promo code RANK15 and you get 15% off. Make a spectacle of your fantasy football championship with Crown Champs. We love them. The crowns are the way to go. All right, how about another question there, Sam? What time is the podcast here going to air? Now, Andre. I feel like I've seen your question a couple of times. Thank you so much for coming in and dropping this one, because this is a great question. Josh Jacobs or Marvin Harrison Jr. is a keeper for the upcoming season. One of the things that I really like about this question is it depends on how long you're going to be able to keep these players. We play in a couple of keeper leagues where you get like a 3-year max. If this is a keeper, as in you're never letting go of this player ever, then Marvin Harrison Jr. to me has the longer term value. Marvin Harrison Jr. should step up this season. He wasn't bad last year, but we really saw Kyler Murray struggling, trying to incorporate Marvin Harrison Jr. into the mix. It actually, the numbers show this. Like, Kyler Murray was excellent throwing to Trey McBride and Greg Dortch and everybody else. It was when he was targeting or forcing the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. is where they really had an issue. Now, obviously, you don't expect that to be a problem this year. And even this season, Marvin Harrison Jr. could end up being more valuable than Greg Jacobs. So if this is something where we're looking at 5 years down the road, you would rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. This year only, Josh Jacobs. I know that's going to stun some people because I see a lot of the Superflex rankings and everything like that. I honestly believe Josh Jacobs is going to have a monster year. I think people are sleeping on him. When I look at the Packers and I look at their wide receiver situation, why do they want to throw the football? They're going to want to run it. So for me, I think it'd be more important to have Josh Jacobs for the season. But long term, you're going to want to have Marvin Harrison Jr. And thanks again for your question. Really do appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who has been who have been lobbing questions. Very happy to be able to get that for you. All right, how about another one? Rank, give me some good strength of schedule and playoff strength of schedule for the big three positions. Here's my thing about this is I historically do not believe in trying to get that far ahead of the strength of schedule. Now, I know that I famously go out every year on NFL.com and make predictions and say, like, this seems good, this seems not good. And sometimes it comes out really well. You're like, oh, yeah, you were right about that. Sometimes it's historically bad. The Lions fans from last year will have you believe, like, yeah, you said we were going to, like, be good, make the playoffs. Yes, I did say that. We don't know how good these teams are going to be. We don't know what the injuries are going to be like. Too often, people, I think because of the abundance of information, that everybody's like, hey, like, and these are articles that like NFL.com will pitch to me. And I'm like, I'm not writing that. Like, it's like, I don't like writing it because we don't know how good these teams are going to be. Like, we could look here and let's say the Commanders, for instance, have a great playoff schedule. You're like, okay, yeah, whatever. But then, you know, if they have injuries on the offensive line, if one of the receivers gets traded, something like where there's too many variables that can happen. It is one of those things, like whenever we do predictions and people are like, why don't you do futures? It's like futures for anybody. And I don't want to take away from our friends at Circa, but anybody who goes and does futures, like that is the most insane thing in the world because there are so many, like even judging who's going to win week to week is not 100% foolproof. Even when you have all the information, we don't know what these teams are going to look like in week 15. And I know it's a cop-out to say, but if we go, okay, so I'll pull it up. And I'm not trying to take the easy way out. Week 15 NFL schedule. I'll pull this up right now. 2025. So week 15. So this would be the first week of the NFL, 15, 16, 17. How many weeks are there? Have we gone to 18 yet? Are we doing 18 games yet? Have we announced that? We have not. Okay. So the Bears and the Browns. I don't know. What if the Browns end up having like one of the best defenses in the NFL? This seems like look at the Bears have a great matchup against the Browns right now. All your Ravens. The Ravens are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. That defense should be terrible. Should be. We don't know. Avoid the Texans because the Cardinals defense actually could be really good. Jets and the Jags. We assume both those defenses won't be that great. Who else? So again, the Commanders. Okay, yeah. So the Commanders are who I was thinking of because they're playing the Giants. Who knows? Like, what if the Giants turn it around? What if this is the year the Giants get it going? Like, there's so many things that can happen. The Rams defense looks tough right now. The Broncos defense. So the Packers have the Broncos in week 15. So again, if you're like, well, so I shouldn't take Josh Jacobs? Like, no, take Josh Jacobs. You got to get to the playoffs, and then we adjust. So my advice, Ninos knows, is I would really just try to draft good players that you think are going to score. Let's not worry about week 15. We'll worry about it when we get there. And also, this is another one of my philosophies too. I don't care about the bye weeks unless I'm in a single quarterback league where I'm drafting two quarterbacks. Probably don't want those guys to have the same bye week. Even then, I almost to the point of like, I would rather have all my bye weeks in like week 11 or week 8 or whatever. again, we're paralysis by analysis and all that stuff. I really just want to focus on getting good players. And I understand that you want to keep that in mind. And I think that once we get to week 12 and we're looking at like adjusting our line, hey, maybe making a late season trade, that's when we go into that kind of stuff. But for right now, let's just get good players. That's all. That's my thing. That's my philosophy. I know. Michael F. Florio will post a column tomorrow. Best fantasy football playoff schedules. Like I can't be bothered. If you see that come out on NFL.com, realize I passed on that article. And I have for the last 6 years. All right. How about another one? Sorry. I got the 12th pick in a snake draft. What would you go for in back-to-back in a full point PPR league? Like this is one of those things again where I really like to play the draft board as it comes to me. And it's really difficult. Like one of the things about being 12th is that you got to go into like, this is one of the things, it's the Mike Tyson principle about, hey, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And then all of a sudden the plan goes out the window. Crazy things happen. Like it's weird things. Like Drake May gets drafted right before you. And you're like, what is happening in my league? Maybe it's a super flex, but like in a non-super flex league, you never can tell what everybody is going to do. Like I think my basic strategy would be figuring that you're not going to get an opportunity to get Bijan Robinson. I'm assuming he doesn't fall to you at 12. My ideal situation would be to grab 2 wide receivers at the turn. And it can be somebody like Drake London and Garrett Wilson. I doubt Puka Nacua gets to you. Devontae Adams is not a bad option, but I would plan on going receiver. You might be tempted to go with Brock Bowers. However, I would prefer to wait on it and punt that one down the road a little bit and take advantage another way. Again, unless it goes Bijan Robinson, 11 receivers, then I might be inclined to go with Brock Bowers, but I would want to go 2 wide receivers. And then I would start looking into some of these other running backs, later round guys who could be value. What if, perhaps Breece Hall falls to you? And this is one of the things about Breece Hall that I've really liked is they've started talking about Breece Hall in glowing terms with the New York Jets. And one of the things that we need to understand is that Tanner Engstrand is the new offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. And he comes from the Detroit Lions. He was one of the right-hand men of Ben Johnson last year. Kind of wish he would have came over with the Bears, but wisely decided to go to the New York Jets because he's getting an opportunity to call plays. Like the pathway to being a head coach is better for him if he goes to a place where he's calling the plays. And if the Jets go out there and have a lot of success, Tanner Engstrand is going to end up being one of those guys at the end of next year who's going to be the hot name wherever there's a coach that needs to be replaced. Perhaps in Miami. Although Miami, once Mike McDaniel gets blown out, they will go super safe and go like with Mike McCarthy or something. But Tanner Engstrand will end up being somebody that is a highly sought after name. But it does lead itself to Breece Hall being an option for you in the 3rd round. And people are like, he'll be long. Okay, babe, if he's long gone, he's long gone. Fine. I know there's a lot of people who are cool on Breece Hall. If not, who knows? And again, you make a plan. It falls like if he doesn't fall to you, we're just going to adjust. But some of the other guys who I really like, I like DeAndre Swift a lot this year. We've talked about this. Last time he was with Ben Johnson, had 70 receptions. If they really are insistent on Caleb Williams developing and making good throws, this would be an opportunity for him to do a lot of dump offs to DeAndre Swift. Also like Tajay Spears is another one. Jordan Mason doesn't get enough run. Like Jordan Mason might end up being the top running back for the Minnesota Vikings this year. So Jordan Mason is a guy that we really like. RJ Harvey, I think that the secret's out on him, but like there's another guy that we really like. Amarian Hampton is probably not going to be available to you. But, again, like I would rather go wide receiver, and then attack the running back position the next time. But I would still go with another wide receiver, and then I would go with a running back. So receiver, running back when you're sitting there in the third and fourth round. And by the way, where is your next game day going to be? Listen, if you're a real Chicago sports fan, and I'm talking about Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Sky, Fire, all those teams, then you need to be watching the games at Twisted Shamrock Pub. It is the go-to pub in Chicago. Monster screens behind their beautiful bar, out in the patio. They've got private rooms. It is an epic game day experience. If you are going somewhere and you're like, I want to go out, I want to watch the Cubs, I want to watch the White Sox, you got to go to Twisted Shamrock. Listen, and the best thing, like if you're like me, like at some point, like beer's great and I like beer, but whenever I go to Twisted Shamrock, I got to have one of their world famous old fashions. It is probably the best old fashioned in not even Chicago. I will say the Midwest. Give me some time. I might expand that to a full nationwide thing, but go try the old fashioned. Go to Twisted Shamrock. Enjoy some Chicago sports. You will not be disappointed. It is my go-to spot in Chicago. We love it there. How about another question there, Sam? Picking at number 8 in the keeper league, 12-man holding on to Malik Neighbors as he will cost me only a 4. Only a 4. What is your recommendation at number 8? So you're sitting here about it in a number 8 in a keeper league. I'm going to say, I doubt Ashton Genty would be available to you. I would love that, but I don't think it's going to be possible. That would be the name that I would scribble on a piece of paper. Ashton Genty. See how that goes. Otherwise, I think you're probably better off going with one of the wide receivers. Drake London probably be available to you right there. Trying to look at this list. And I have a list popped up. Let's see. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, I got to resubscribe. I can't get into Matt Harmon's reception perception. But I really like going wide receiver. Garrett Wilson might be another one. Again, as I sit here and I talk about the New York Jets, talk about the opportunity for the New York Jets to be a lot better on offense this year, Garrett Wilson is going to have a bounce back season for that to happen. So I think Garrett Wilson, Drake London, one of those wide receivers should treat you pretty well. Then the running backs I was just talking about a moment ago should help you start getting sorted as you move on through your keeper draft. All right. How about another question, Sammy? Full point PPR. I can keep McBride at 3. Oh, I already keeping. Oh, you know what, Elliot? So you can either keep Trey McBride at 3rd round 12. Chuba Hubbard at 9-12 is really enticing. You're already keeping Bucky Irving. But when I'm talking about the player that I would rather have, and even though it's going to cost me a 3rd round pick, I really like Trey McBride. I think the progression in the touchdown department is going to make him an absolute superstar. Trey McBride was so good last year without having to depend on touchdowns, which shows you like how good he can be. I don't know how you get away from Trey McBride. I really want to have Trey McBride on my roster ready to go. That's me, though. I mean, I get Chuba Hubbard, and I think Chuba Hubbard's great, and he's going to flourish there this season in Carolina, but I got to get Trey McBride. All right, how about another question? Which would be the best offensive rookie of the draft whose name is not Ashton Genty? Yeah, we were talking about some of the rookies a moment ago. Who is the number 2 guy? It is Omarion Hampton. Honestly, when you look at the Chargers rushing attack, like that is, they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the football. Omarion Hampton should be the benefactor for that. They did sign, who was it? Najee Harris, which is like, I don't know. But again, like last year, and I saw Kamani Vidal the other night too, being like, oh, there's our guy. But we do like, and Ted McMillan is going to get a lot of opportunity. We do like Travion Henderson, Colson Loveland, of course, in dynasty leagues. Tyler Warren should be a little bit better in and again, if this is a season-long league, it's not keeper centric. It's kind of hard for me to justify getting Travis Hunter. It just really is. And I'm not even saying that he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's not going to help the Jags win some games this season, but it's hard for me to trust him. Marcus Golden is interesting to me too. If I can get him at the right price, because when I was doing my mock draft with a twist, I really like Marcus Golden. I actually thought that he should have been a top. I thought I would have taken him over Ted McMillan, but I was basing that off of Steve Smith Sr. So I get it. But Ted McMillan is going to be Ted McMillan though. And this is the thing as well. Like Adam Thielen keeps getting overlooked in a lot of drafts. I would stop overlooking Adam Thielen, like way down the board. Like don't get crazy. Don't do anything before the 10th round. But as you're sitting there, and I am the person who will always tell somebody, like, don't go for the familiar names. Take a wild swing. But I think that Adam Thielen in the early part of the season is going to do just fantastic. All right, how about another question? Let's keep the questions rolling. By the way, let us know, is this something you guys would like to do on a Sunday morning as well? If you would, let us know, because we can always make that happen. All right, what do we got? Do we have anything else? Did I lose Sammy? Can people hear me? You can say Don Burr. Oh, it's just Don Burr in the comments. Don Burr in the comments starting fights with people. All right. Well, listen, one other thing. So we talked about Breece Hall. One other question that I was getting that somebody was asking about tight ends. I get a lot of tight end questions. So for me, I am trying to marry up my tight ends this year with the quarterback. And I love Evan Ingram. And so I have been planning, and this will take me out of Cortland Sutton. This will take me out of RJ Harvey, is I am planning on drafting Baker Mayfield. And I would really like Baker Mayfield to be my quarterback this season. Or Baker Mayfield. I would. Baker Mayfield this season, Bo Nix this season. Both of these guys. Bo Nix will take me out of Cortland Sutton and all those guys. Trying to pair up Bo Nix and Evan Ingram, because I like that one better, because Cade Otton is ranked somewhere around tight end 20. And I don't know if I want to make him my tight end 1. I think there are some better options out there. I really do believe that you can do better than Cade Otton, but at the same time, I love Baker Mayfield. I love Bo Nix as quarterbacks this year. But if I can get Bo Nix and Evan Ingram, I think that would be a pretty wise one. Also, I was getting a lot of questions too on a couple of wide receivers. People are concerned, like, hey, is CeeDee Lamb still a pretty good option with George Pickens? And I truly believe that he is. With George Pickens there, it is going to open things up. Now, we have heard some of the Cowboys coaches talking about the fact that George Pickens is not going to be a one-trick pony, where the Steelers just had him running deep on every play. There is a feeling that the Cowboys will move him around, maybe even give him some opportunities in the slot. That's going to help out CeeDee Lamb. Now, CeeDee Lamb obviously does a lot of his great work out of the slot, but still a viable receiver that you can move all over the field. If both of those guys are cooking this season, I think that CeeDee Lamb rebounds, ends up being a top 5 wide receiver once again. I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on him. I think George Pickens is an all right spot. Like, he's probably going to slide. People are not going to take a chance on him. Watch the value for those two players. Dak Prescott is going to be back this season as well. And if Micah Parsons isn't playing football for the Dallas Cowboys, that offense or that defense is going to be worse. The numbers show that when Micah Parsons is not on the field, that Cowboys defense is terrible. So there could be a pretty good opportunity as that starts to unfold. So I'm really starting to take an interest in both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And you know what? Dak Prescott, again, if we're waiting on a quarterback, is somebody we can wait on. And finally, Puka Nacua has been looking pretty good. And with Devontae Adams, people are like, well, is Puka Nacua going to be a top 5 fantasy wide receiver this season? With Devontae Adams, I do believe he can be even better this year. We saw before, the Rams have always operated with a pair of quality wide receivers. When Cooper Kupp was at his height, he always had Robert Woods there. And Robert Woods wasn't the fantasy option that Cooper Kupp was. However, Robert Woods still went out there and put up pretty good numbers. I would say Devontae Adams is a better version of that which means it could open things up for Puka Nacua. So I really like that opportunity for Puka Nacua this season. And there you go. There it is. All right. So want to thank everybody for being here this evening. It's always great to sit here and talk some fantasy, get an opportunity to do that. Fantasy drafts are ramping up. I want to remind everybody or let everybody know that NFL Fantasy Live is returning to the NFL Network on August 11th at 6 p.m. Eastern. I will be there. Well, I will be on the show. I will not be in studio, but I will be on the show with Cynthia Freeland and Patrick Claybon. That should be a lot of fun. We'll be going a couple of times a week, of course, until the season kicks off. Then Fantasy Live will be a part of your everyday life once again. I am scheduled to be on every show this season, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great year with the NFL Network. And if you haven't seen me on the After Hour with Jim Rome, I implore you to go check that out. That has been a lot of fun. And, of course, the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank will be back on Wednesday with Take It to the Rank with our co-host Greg Braggs, who I'm stiffing tonight because I got to go. But go check out CHGO After Dark this evening. Greg will be there with Shane Marsaw and, of course, Draft Dr. Phil. I will not be there tonight, but we'll be back the following week. So thank you, everybody, for allowing me the opportunity to be here answering questions for you. And with that, Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.